Oh, hi there. It's just as I told you in a few videos before. Um, I had this idea that, it is whomever's plan to get as many of the cars that are currently on the road off of the road. And you see it in the news. Like ICBC rates are going up. I mean, they said it would go up $60 or so per year. That's really not that out of the question. But multiply that over many years, which they said would happen, and what do you got? In the future, you're going to have um, people who can't afford insurance, don't have money for gas, and therefore have no car. And not only that, but there's going to be, new condo developments that won't have parking lots. They'll just figure, well, everyone doesn't have the money for this, and we're building these, and they're pouring everything they have into having a tiny little condo, and it'll be strata council, of course, and strata council. You asked me about them, and you're gonna get this. Fuck you. You ain't telling me what to do on my property. That's why I am never living in a condo and I'm never renting. Again, I rented for 2 years, but I don't rent no more. Um, and yeah, I gotta tell you, man, the grand scheme that people like Justin Trudeau, I'm not gonna say him specifically, but people like him have cooked up for this city. It's gonna push all the middle class, what we would call that today, out of Vancouver into more rural areas. And they're doing other things too. Like now you got to prove, if you're a senior citizen, that you live in the household for X amount of the year. So therefore, you can go on worldwide vacations, real ones anyway. Basically Europe, the States, possibly Australia. Where else is there really worth going? I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't say Russia, but I'd be more inclined to say Russia than somewhere else. A lot of other places. May the smallest possibility Mexico, but not likely, and definitely not South America, not Asia, and not Africa, and not the Middle East. Wouldn't go to those places. But anyway, my point still remains valid that they're going to take away a person's ability to go do that through various law changes that are already coming into effect. And that's bullshit. If you've saved your money, you own your house. What is this? Socialist Canada, where it's not that the poor get any richer, it's just that the middle class gets fucked over. And the very rich do not get fucked over. In fact, in many cases, when people talk about the financial hierarchy, they refer to the middle class as basically somebody who has a job, a house over their head, and can afford basics like a smartphone, um, and and has food, and that's basically middle class. No, that's not middle class. That's lower, like very low middle class. If you even want to call it that, I'd call it being poor, if you want my honest answer. You don't own property, you don't own things of value, and smartphones are not things of value. Believe you me, I mean, even the most up-to-date smartphone, uh, there's a reason there aren't more pickpockets and things like that, and it's because smartphones aren't worth that much, really. I mean, there are places where, I don't know, they'll do things to them, and it's, I don't even know. I shouldn't have mentioned that part. That doesn't make any sense. But the point is, strata councils and that mentality wants to take people's ability away to determine how they run their household or their living space. And that's bullshit. They don't own the property. The Strata Council does not own your property unless you agree to their terms when you go to buy the property. And they would prefer it that everyone was on board with that idea. And, it's not difficult to explain to people that's a bunch of bullshit because you have nothing, and the closest thing to you that has something, and you latch onto it and grab it for yourself, that doesn't make you a better person. You deserve to be poor if that's your case. If you want to argue about the billionaires and things like that, that's perfectly fine. That's a legitimate argument. But if you're looking at someone who's, doing not too bad and, has stable living conditions, and you resent them for that, then you're an asshole. I mean, it sucks to be poor. I was poor for a whole 2 years, actually. What I'd consider to be poor, and it sucks, but it can be overcome, and the dream can be realized. Um, and that whole law about not being able to travel and things like that, I'm not entirely sure about that. I'd heard it from a friend of a friend of a friend. Um, so, I'm not quite so certain about that, but it does seem to make sense. Them taking away people's ability to, you know, live their lives the way they want to. And I don't agree with that. Especially after retirement, they want to go on vacations and things like that. That's their prerogative. I'd like to go on vacations too, when, I retire someday, because my household will be paid off by then. And that's assuming my YouTube project doesn't yield profits, and I think it will. Um, but yeah, there actually are a large number of people out there that don't like people having individual property. They think that everything belongs to Canada and that we are Canadian and yada yada yada. No, you come around here telling me what to do when you have no just cause for it. You can bugger off. Ain't no one done that, but indirectly I have felt the brunt of it. I've made several videos about being a bit of a hermit. I'm going to call myself a gym cell. Now I'm not going to call myself an involuntary celibate. Um, yeah, because that sounds like a better name actually, and probably more indicative to who I am as a person. I actually have burnt some fat and things like that with my activities, and my muscle is remained where it was. So I'm doing okay as far as working out goes. Could do better, I suppose, and I will try. Um, yeah, it's I knew it. I knew it when I saw it on the news that, obviously it's part of the fear mongering campaign and propaganda, whatever you want to call it, telling people, oh, there won't be gas stations and ICBC is going to go up in price and how much money poor ICBC lost. Who the fuck gives a shit about ICBC except people who work there? And they're all bureaucrats anyway, so they'd fucking lie about anything. Yeah, they lost money. Sure they did. They fuck off. They lost money when their CEOs took it all. That's when they lost money. Uh, from taxpayers, I might add. You and ICBC, um, people who pay for ICBC because they drive cars, and them using the excuse, well, we'll just hike it up $60. It doesn't sound like that big a number, but you multiply it by how many vehicles are on the road, and all of a sudden it starts to become a big number. Even if it was $1 for every driver, it would be, oh, that would be big profits, in the millions of dollars, obviously, at very least. But they're hiking it up to 60, and they were threatening to do more. And it's like, there's just no end to this greed, is there? Uh, you know, some people go, "Oh, communism is gonna save us" and things like that, and I try to tell them, "No, man, communism never existed." Uh, and this whole socialism idea, it's a load of rubbish. Um, some of it sounds nice in rhetoric, but for the most part, it's just a load of junk that's not going to work. Um, and I think that people should have the right to own private property, and a lot of people do. A lot of people do. But increasingly, it's getting harder and harder to do. And it didn't used to be. I mean, the population size used to be much lower, but it would still be at a manageable level if Justin Trudeau didn't have this brainchild that he was going to, decide to let everybody in. And they don't want to go out into the country. Oh, no, no, no. They got to go to the big cities. And it's like, I have to downgrade my standard of living, hypothetically, if I were someone else in my position. I'm not downgrading my living situation, that's for sure. For somebody else because the television tells me that's the right thing to do. Excuse me, the television and the people on the television, this is YouTube, so that's not the same thing, can fuck right off. And if you're some petty, jealous, oh, I have to work so many hours and I got nothing to show for it, blah, 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 and therefore I hate anybody who has even a little bit of something, then I'm sorry, but you're in the category of being a cunt. And there are a lot of people like that, and they don't admit it, but they do think it. And not admitting something and thinking something, um, there's not a whole lot of difference between them. They're, you know, they are different, but they're not much different. It simply means that the person's being uncooperative. They don't have to be vocal about it, okay? That's fair enough. But to openly say, that they would deny certain things that they believe because of, you know, they may be considered wrong or, have an unpopular opinion. This is supposed to be Canada. It's supposed to be the best country on earth, and we have to hide who we are. If anyone who knows me knows I do not hide who I am. And I don't think that it's entirely that great a thing for people of the conservative mindset to be running the show, so for to say, whatever conservatism means to whomever, because it means different things to different people. um, that's all up to them. But I don't want the possibility of not being able to expand who I am as a person, my financial well-being, as well as my physical and mental health. Um, I really don't feel that it's fair that there are people out there that rather than improve themselves, they'd rather downgrade other people. And that's a pity that this is what the world is becoming. Uh, well, what else have I got to say? Except that it was true. I believed it. And, one CBC broadcast isn't proof enough that, the cars of today are going to be obsolete and they're going to do whatever it is they're going to do with them. Probably sell them to Africa. Because they got all those cheap highways and things like that built by the glorious Communist Party of China, the glorious People's Republic. And they actually have some oil and mineral resources that they could trade to us. And to live in a green world, a lot of less people have to be in cars, and then therefore there'll be less car accidents. It all sounds like great rhetoric, but the truth is it's to build underground mega projects, and in theory anyway, which actually, might outweigh people's rights, depending on exactly what they're going to do. But since not since the government are a bunch of slobs and jackasses. This project will probably take, a couple hundred years. Um, and I'm not saying like RoboCop 3 type scenario where the government rounds people up so they can forcibly rebuild things or build underground cities, but um, I've contradicted myself, haven't I? I should restart this video, but I think as I make videos, people watch them because my computer has Wi-Fi access, so I can't really do that. So on one hand, okay, I'm divided. I wanna keep personal property, and on the other hand, we do need mega projects underground. And I'd also think that if people want to have a car, they should be able to. I mean, through propaganda, you could convince people that they don't need cars you know, at certain development stages, which would be an option, and then therefore there'd be less cars on the road. Because it used to be back in the day, if you didn't have a car, you weren't going to score a chick, and that's dumb. I don't drive, but I don't drive by choice. Um, Waste of money, money pit, in my opinion. Um, Well, anyway, yeah, now I've contradicted myself. This video's gone nowhere. Anyway, I'll finish it up. It's 1:33 and I should probably get to sleep anyway. Um, which I probably won't do for a little bit, but anyway, I guess I'll talk to you creeps some other time.